Professor Haystacks here, coming at you not live from scenic my apartment. I'm just here today to give my quick thoughts on the first half of Season 8. I don't know if there's going to be a delay before the second half or not. I haven't been able to find any definitive information. But let's get to it. Alright, Season 8 starts alright with School Days, Parts 1 and 2. A little disappointed that they don't actually use Tempest's real name in that, but anyway, generally good. The Maud couple, as usual, Maud is hilarious. This is a rare episode that would have benefited from being cut down because there's that whole sequence where Maud stands Pinky up and it never actually goes anywhere. And that would have been an opportunity for a lesson about not neglecting your family because you're in a romantic relationship. But whatever, it is what it is. And I realize that whole sequence was just there to pad out the time, but I kind of wish they had come up with something better. Anyway, other than that, good episode. Fake it till you make it. Fluttershy's personalities here are hilarious. This is more of a comedy episode. As far as characters go, I felt a bit of a stretch for Fluttershy to go that into character, but you know, I mean, it kind of works. It's not great, it's not terrible. Granny's Gone Wild. This one just felt like a G.M. Barrow story. If you've read her books, you know her plots tend to have a particular arc to them, and this one fits it to a T. One wonders if the Wild Blue Yonder was going to just be replaced with something else. I mean, I assume it was because it was still doing business. You don't shut down something that's making money. But it was probably in need of repair, so it would have made sense to close it and replace it with something newer. Anyway, this one had some flaws, but mostly just solid. You know, nothing particularly stand out. It wasn't one of the most memorable to me, but it was good. It didn't stand out as being bad either. Surf and or turf. The conflict here was kind of forced, but overall it had a nice message. There was hints of a separated family, although at the end the mother and father do still seem to be together. Little unclear, but you know, there's some nice themes here and a nice song. Horseplay. This was a highly amusing episode, and I really do like this one. Um, there were a few, you know, minor issues with it, like having Celestia in a kids play, but overall it worked quite well. I believe this was the writing debut for Kaita Mpambrara. I'm probably mangling that pronunciation. At the very least, I don't remember any episodes that they've written before, and this was a good one. Hope we see more of, I think, her in the future. I couldn't swear to that. I'm not familiar with names of that origin. The parent map. I love this one. I do wish they had maybe pushed the Sunburst Starlight shipping a little bit, but I mean, there's enough of it there that you can kind of read it into there. Uh, with regards to shipping, half the time it seems like the ponies are teenagers, despite the fact that in most aspects they act like they're, I don't know, mid-20s. Um, I feel like the relationship aspect, by and large, they act like teenagers. The few hints of it we see, mostly from Rarity, but Rarity especially acts like a, you know, teenage girl. Anyway, non-compete clause. This one felt forced. I mean, it's not terrible, but it wasn't particularly memorable. The breakdown, on the other hand, was very good. I like that the Spike's bizarre thing was good at the end. And it kind of moved away from spike rarity shipping, which, I'm not terribly crazy about because at least given at least rarities, she has got to realize what she's doing, that she's leading him on there, and he is like too young for her. But anyway, unfortunately, that kind of got reversed in Molt Down, which kind of pushed the spike rarity shipping. I know these are different authors. I think maybe if we assumed, well, Spike has wings, so you can't just reverse the order, unfortunately. But it felt like Spike was growing out of that previously, and now it kind of doesn't. I mean, there's a certain point where their age difference wouldn't matter, but it still feels kind of weird. But anyway, that aside, this episode was very good. I would have liked to have seen a little more about what the normal dragon sequence is like. Maybe just a flashback animation sequence or something. It also feels like Smolder has to have gone through her first molt at some point. I guess she was too young to remember, which means maybe Spike's was delayed. Anyway, marks for effort. Quite amusing. I like the Princess of Friendship is your mother. That was a very good joke. This raised some questions that we kind of just have to accept in the context of the episode. I mean, the CMC, I would have thought maybe were too young. I mean, it felt like most of the people at the Friendship Academy were older than them. But then we get Cozy Glow, who's going there, and is younger than them. And they don't seem to teach your 3 R's there, reading, writing, and arithmetic, for those unfamiliar, which they kind of need to. I mean, they clearly use reading and stuff, but Cozy Glow is so young, it questions whether she would have had enough of that. Whereas the CMC seem to have gotten the basics of those down enough that they could go there. I don't know. Honestly, I think if they had made Cozy Glow like the same age as the CMC instead of visibly younger, it would have worked a little better. But it's a iffy situation. And finally, the mean 6. I feel like there was wasted potential here. The Applejack and Rainbow Dash kind of figure out something's going on with Fluttershy, but they don't mention that to any of the others. I expected there to be some recognition of there being clones, like maybe them catching sight of them as the clones are like vanishing due to the elements. It's a little unclear on whether the elements were corrupted, but according to the summaries, that doesn't seem to have been the case. I did hate that the mean 6 were kind of just killed here. I mean, I guess the clones were in the Pinkie Pies episode, but it's ambiguous because they were kind of sent back to the pond. These were turned back into non-sentient sticks. I don't know. It was good. It kind of raised questions ethically about this. And I hated that those characters who I found very interesting, the mean 6, had a lot of potential that I felt has now gone unrealized. Still, they could bring them back later, and it could be interesting. I note that of all of them, Evil Twilight actually acts the most like her counterpart, while the others were obviously opposite in some key way. Twilight's opposite was just that she was mean, but otherwise she shared most of Twilight's quirks, and if anything, was actually more confident. It might have made more sense. I don't know. That doesn't really work. Anyway, the others have some aspects of their original. The Fluttershy acts a bit like Fluttershy from Putting Your Hoof Down, and Rainbow Dash's laziness is exacerbated, and Pinkie Pie is bored all the time rather than bouncing off the walls, which we've kind of seen Pinkie Pie act like that once or twice when something traumatic happened. But Twilight just seemed like a more confident and assertive version of herself. I mean, except for the fact that she wasn't nice, but there's some potential there, like looking in a mirror darkly, as they say. But they just get straight up killed at the end, uh, and that doesn't really seem to work there. I don't know. Still, their specially colored sticks were just left sitting there, and we saw Chrysalis clearly going a bit stir crazy from being on her own so long without any minions. I think she said servants, but I like minions. Um, so, maybe we'll see something of them again. Also, the fact that you took a picture of Rainbow Dash's butt. uh, you'd think a better plan might have been to clone Starlight and have Starlight like mess up the real one's life, or just turn into Starlight. I mean, there's some wasted potential there, but she still seems obsessed with destroying Equestria. You know. Yeah. Anyway, so pretty solid overall. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best season or anything, but it's not the worst. It seems to have settled into a nice little rhythm. There are some logical questions it raises and never answers, like how the heck Rarity has time to teach classes. Uh, but it's doing okay, and we'll see what happens in the second half. I'm kind of hoping they work in Fizzlepop Berry Twist at some point. Um, maybe try to have an episode where Rarity has problems both teaching and dealing with her boutiques. I mean, I realize she has people doing the day-to-day operations of the other ones, but she still has a lot she has to do, especially during fashion season. And it seems odd that she would, and seasonally the other ponies also have stuff to do except for Twilight, and as we've seen, Starlight. Honestly, Starlight should probably be the permanent fill-in teacher when the others have to do stuff, since she doesn't seem to have a day job, as she noted by the fact that she rarely gets to do anything as a guidance counselor, except alphabetizing and re-alphabetizing the books. Well, anyway, that's my thoughts. While I'm here, I want to mention I am in a project called Shadows of Corruption. I'm the script editor and one of the voices on that. I might actually be doing a second voice. We'll see how that goes. But I'm hoping I'll be able to put a link up here with the wrong side. Up here with the painting. I'm not that familiar with that YouTube system though, so that may or may not work. It'll be down in the description if nothing else. Anyway, that's all for now. I've been Professor Haystacks. Good night and drive safely.